She wasn't on the guest list. No one knew her name. But by nightfall, they'd never forget her face. In a quiet garden wedding, what began as "I do" ended in "oh no." Was it revenge, heartbreak, or something much darker? She hadn't seen him in 3 months, but she'd been watching every day. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. It was a warm spring afternoon in a small town in Virginia. The garden was adorned with white roses, and the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers. Guests gathered, laughter echoed, and the atmosphere was one of joy and celebration. Among the attendees, a woman sat alone in the back row. Dressed in a modest navy dress, she wore a wide-brimmed hat that cast a shadow over her face. No one recognized her, but in the flurry of greetings and photographs, her presence went unnoticed. As the ceremony commenced, the bride and groom exchanged vows, their eyes locked in love and commitment. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and applause erupted. The couple walked down the aisle, beaming with happiness. At the reception, the woman from the back row appeared again. She mingled with guests, offering congratulations and sharing stories. Her demeanor was warm, her smile inviting. No one questioned her presence, she seemed to belong. As the evening progressed, she danced with guests, laughed at toasts, and even posed for photographs. But as the night wore on, subtle oddities emerged. She asked peculiar questions about the groom's past, inquired about his college years, and seemed overly interested in his previous relationships. Some guests found her curiosity unsettling, but dismissed it as harmless. Later, when the newlyweds opened their gifts, they found a card with no name, only a message: "May your love be as enduring as the memories we've shared." Inside was a photograph of the groom from his college days, with a woman whose face was obscured. The groom's expression changed. He became visibly shaken. He recognized the photo, but couldn't place the woman. The bride noticed his discomfort and inquired, but he brushed it off. The next day, the couple received an anonymous email containing more photos, candid shots of the groom taken over the past few months. Some were from his workplace, others from his daily routines. The realization dawned: someone had been watching him. Security footage from the wedding was reviewed, and the woman in the navy dress was identified. But her identity remained a mystery. No one could recall her name or how she was invited. The couple reported the incidents to the authorities, but without concrete evidence, little could be done. The experience left them unsettled, a shadow cast over their joyous occasion. In the end, the woman in the back row vanished as mysteriously as she had appeared, leaving behind questions that would never be answered. Their love lasted 6 years. His new engagement, just 3 months. Was this just a wedding crasher or something far more chilling? She'd been there from the beginning. College sweethearts, the kind of couple people thought would last forever. Birthdays, family holidays, moving in together. Friends even joked she was already his wife in everything but name. But 3 months after their final argument, he was standing at an altar with someone else. No official breakup announcement, no closure, no calls. He just disappeared. Blocked her number, moved to another city, changed jobs, and now she was sitting in the back row of his wedding, quietly watching the man who once said she was his future. Who was this woman? Why did he leave after 6 years together? What made her crash his wedding? And what happened when she did? Did she just show up to cause a scene? Or was something worse planned? Because what no one knew, not the bride, not the guests, not even him, was that she hadn't come alone, and she hadn't come unarmed. Rebecca was 36, soft-spoken, thoughtful, the kind of person who remembered birthdays, brought coffee to co-workers without being asked, and always picked up the phone, especially when it was her mother calling. She worked from home, balancing remote admin work with being a full-time caregiver for her mom, whose health had been declining for years. Daniel was 38, a regional sales director with a warm smile and an even warmer reputation. He made friends easily, he stayed close to his family, and he knew how to light up a room, especially when Rebecca was in it. For 6 years they shared everything: holidays, road trips, a cozy home in the suburbs, and a scruffy rescue dog named Milo. Photos told the story: pumpkin patches in October, matching flannel pajamas on Christmas morning, dinner dates with candles and laughter. Messages between them were full of "I miss yous," future plans, and silly inside jokes. Her friends would say she thought they'd grow old together. But Daniel had one thing he never gave her: a ring. About a year before the wedding, Rebecca noticed something had shifted. He was traveling more, canceling date nights, always glued to his phone, but never texting her back as fast as before. She brought it up. He brushed it off, said he was under pressure at work, that he needed space. But his smile didn't reach his eyes anymore. He stopped kissing her goodbye in the mornings. And one night she found something: a receipt from a boutique she'd never heard of. 2 glasses of wine charged to his card, on a night he said he'd been at the gym. He blamed stress, but her gut said otherwise, and a woman's intuition, it's rarely wrong. One Friday, she came home from the grocery store to find his key on the kitchen counter. No note, no warning, just his side of the closet empty, and Milo pacing in circles. She called him again and again, straight to voicemail. 3 days later, she received a text, a single message, no apology, just, "I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I need to move on." She begged for answers. She waited outside his new apartment. She called his sister. No one gave her anything. No closure, no conversation, just silence. And something else. When she did his last load of laundry, his shirts carried the scent of a perfume she didn't wear. It started with a Facebook post, a casual scroll, an accidental glimpse. A mutual friend had liked it. The caption read, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." Daniel was in the photo, smiling, in a suit, arm wrapped around a woman Rebecca had never seen before. The post was dated 2 days ago. And the wedding? It was set for next weekend. 3 months after he disappeared from her life, he was getting married. The woman's name was Claire. Young, elegant, polished, a marketing associate at Daniel's company. Blonde hair, flawless skin, a curated online presence that seemed more brand than person. Rebecca clicked through her profile. Engagement photos in a vineyard, a candlelit proposal, hashtags like "Forever with You" and "A Future Mrs. Taylor." Each picture felt like a dagger. Their dog, Milo, wasn't in a single one. There were no traces of the life Daniel and Rebecca had built, no acknowledgement, no history. It was as if the last 6 years had never existed. She felt like a ghost, watching someone else live the life she was promised. That night, Rebecca didn't sleep. She read every post, every comment, studied every tagged photo, friends praising the couple, calling them a perfect match. No one knew the woman who came before. Rebecca started documenting everything: timelines, inconsistencies. Claire's Instagram showed her with Daniel on dates before the breakup. Rebecca noticed the earrings Claire wore in a February photo, the same ones she'd once found in Daniel's glove compartment. Back then, he said they were for his sister's birthday, but his sister's birthday was in July. She started tracking locations. Claire had posted a boomerang from the wedding venue, a historic garden estate outside Richmond, publicly listed. It took Rebecca 10 minutes to find the name. She looked up the guest list, private of course. But the venue's public calendar listed the event, Taylor Rowan Wedding, Saturday at 3 p.m. She circled the date in red ink. Then she ordered a dress, not white, not red, black, simple, unassuming. She didn't plan to speak, at least not at first, but she had to see him, had to see her, had to look Daniel in the eye, just once. She told herself it was closure, but she wasn't honest with herself, not anymore. It wasn't just a visit, it was a reckoning. She borrowed her mother's car, parked 3 blocks away. She wore sunglasses, kept her head down. Guests arrived with gifts and smiles. No one noticed the woman in black slip quietly into the back row. It was a warm afternoon. String lights hung from the trees. A string quartet played something soft, romantic. Laughter floated through the garden. Champagne was poured. Daniel stood at the altar in a light gray suit, straightening his tie, grinning. Claire emerged from the estate house in a lace gown. Cameras clicked. Her father walked her down the aisle, tears in his eyes. Rebecca watched it all from the shadows. Every word of the officiant's speech landed like a slap. Every vow was a memory erased, and then it happened. Just as Daniel took Claire's hand and the words, "I take you," left his lips, Rebecca stood. She stood like a shadow in the sun, straight-backed, silent. Heads turned, murmurs rippled through the rows. Daniel's smile froze. Claire's hand twitched in his, and then Rebecca spoke. "I'm sorry. I just have one question before you say, 'I do.'" "Daniel, what did you tell her about me?" Gasps. Confusion. One of the groomsmen stepped forward. A whisper. "Who is she?" Rebecca didn't move. Her voice didn't shake. 6 years. That's how long we were together. 6 years. And now I'm watching you promise someone else forever. 3 months after I came home to an empty closet, and no explanation. Daniel tried to speak, but the silence around them was louder than anything he could have said. Rebecca turned to Claire. "He told me you were just a co-worker, that I was crazy, that I needed help. Is that what he told you too?" Claire's expression changed, the confidence gone, the carefully curated joy slipping. Someone ushered Rebecca away. She didn't resist, she didn't scream. She just looked at Daniel, one last time, and walked out. No threats, no violence, no tears. But what she said would haunt everyone who heard it. It was never about spectacle. She didn't scream, she didn't throw a drink, she threw the truth. Moments after she asked her question, Rebecca reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside, printed screenshots, photos, old messages, plane tickets for a trip they'd planned just 6 months earlier, a confirmation email for a couple's retreat they'd never gone on, a picture of Daniel kissing her forehead in their living room, time-stamped just 4 months before his wedding. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't cry, she simply read, "This is a text you sent me on January 3rd. I know I haven't proposed yet. I will. This year, I promise." Guests began to murmur. The officiant lowered his script. Someone in the second row took out their phone. Then Rebecca turned to Claire. "You don't know me, but I know you posted a photo with him at a winery on February 10th. He was with me on February 9th. We had dinner. He said he loved me, that he was just tired, not leaving." Claire's face turned pale. The bouquet fell from her hand. She walked off the altar, quietly at first, then faster, heels clicking down the garden path, dress dragging across the grass. Daniel stood frozen. For the first time all day, he didn't look charming, he looked small. By nightfall, someone had uploaded the footage, a 47-second clip titled, "Ex-Girlfriend Crashes Wedding Exposes Cheater." It spread like wildfire. Thousands of views, then millions, stitch after stitch, commentary videos, think pieces, Twitter threads. Some called her brave, others called her unwell. Claire deactivated her accounts within 48 hours, packed her things, moved back in with her parents 2 states away. She never made a public statement. Daniel, on the other hand, tried. He posted a message asking for privacy during this difficult time. But screenshots Rebecca had shared, dates, times, photos, undercut every word. 3 of his largest clients pulled their accounts from his firm. One of his co-workers leaked a memo recommending his termination. His smiling face, once used in marketing material, vanished from the company's site. In less than a week, Daniel wasn't just dumped at the altar, he was dropped by everyone else too. 2 days after the video went viral, police knocked on Rebecca's door. The venue owner had filed a report, trespassing. One of Daniel's friends claimed she'd made disturbing remarks about showing up armed, but there were no weapons, no physical threats, no criminal history. Still, officers questioned her, asked how she got the address, why she attended, what she had intended to do. She cooperated, quietly, calmly, said she only wanted to tell the truth, that she didn't know where else to put her pain. But behind closed doors, another concern began to surface. The detectives noticed something in her answers, a flatness, a distance. An evaluation was ordered, a standard mental health check under state protocol. She passed, but the notes flagged something subtle. Obsessive thought patterns, delusional attachments to closure, an inability to let go. No charges were filed, but Rebecca was added to a watch list, a precaution. She returned to her home, alone, and for a time it seemed like that would be the end of it. But then, a diary was discovered. It wasn't found by police. It wasn't leaked by a friend. It was mailed anonymously to Claire's parents, a padded envelope, no return address. Inside, a leather-bound journal, every page handwritten by Rebecca. Dozens of entries, daily logs, letters to Daniel, letters to herself, voicemail drafts that had never been sent, and letters to Claire. One entry, dated the week of the wedding, read, "To Daniel's future wife, I hope you're stronger than I was. He'll look perfect until he leaves you empty." Another page simply said, "He ruined my life, I'll ruin his day." It read less like a diary and more like documentation, evidence, not of a crime, but of a collapse. Her handwriting changed over time, neat to jagged, as if her composure was peeling away with every entry. But one page changed everything. On the surface, Daniel seemed like the grieving victim of a relationship gone wrong, a man publicly embarrassed on what should have been the happiest day of his life. But then, more messages surfaced. A former co-worker reached out anonymously, said she'd seen Daniel and Claire together before the breakup. Not once, repeatedly. Dinners, overnights. A weekend trip that overlapped with Rebecca's mother's hospital stay. A weekend Daniel had told Rebecca he was visiting family out of town. Soon, Claire's old posts, once hidden, re-emerged. Photos of sunsets that matched Daniel's travel logs. A comment from Claire's sister in December. "Can't wait to meet him this Christmas." Daniel had always told Rebecca his family didn't do holidays, that they preferred to keep things low-key. He was lying, to both of them. But the biggest revelation came 6 weeks after the wedding was called off. Claire posted a photo, a soft, grainy ultrasound. "Due in March, our greatest adventure begins." Daniel was going to be a father, and when Rebecca read those words, something in her broke, because he had told her he couldn't have kids. He told her they'd tried, that it wasn't possible, that it wasn't her. She believed him for years, but it wasn't true. Rebecca wasn't just betrayed, she was replaced. In the weeks after the wedding, Rebecca withdrew. She deleted her accounts, stopped returning calls. Her closest friends said it was like she shrunk. The vibrant, funny, devoted woman they once knew became a shell. One friend said she found unopened mail, dishes untouched, messages scribbled on the backs of receipts. Another noticed Rebecca had taken down every photo in the house, except one. A picture of Milo, their dog. She wasn't eating, she wasn't sleeping. When asked how she was doing, Rebecca answered the same way every time. "I'm fine, I just needed to be heard." But in one late-night call, she told a friend something else, something the friend later repeated to police. "If I can't have peace, I'll take control." A sentence that meant nothing at the time, but now sounded like a warning. No formal charges were ever filed. Rebecca hadn't committed a crime that day, at least not one the law could name. There was no assault, no property damage. But there was unease, the kind of unease that gets written into paperwork. A restraining order was filed by Daniel's attorney. Standard language, prohibiting contact, proximity, any future disruptions. Rebecca didn't contest it. She didn't show up to court. She didn't speak again. But her therapist, a former grief counselor she'd seen twice, later shared a chilling observation. It wasn't rage, it was heartbreak, weaponized. She didn't want revenge. She wanted evidence, proof that she'd been real, that he was the liar, that her love had mattered. By the time the order was served, Rebecca had moved out of state. No one had seen her since. 3 months after the ruined wedding, Daniel and Claire married in a courthouse ceremony. No guests, no photos, no announcements, just paperwork and a promise. They moved into a new house on the outskirts of town, a quiet, beige suburb with more fences than neighbors. They don't speak publicly about the wedding. When asked, Daniel's response is brief. "The past is behind us. We're focused on our family now." Claire gave birth to a baby boy in early spring. Daniel's Facebook profile, once polished and professional, now shows baby toys and backyard grills. But while they built a new life, Rebecca vanished. No Instagram, no new photos. The last anyone saw was a blurry snapshot taken by a former classmate, Rebecca at a bus station, hair pulled back, reading a book with no jacket. The caption read, "Didn't even recognize her at first." For nearly a year, she was silent. Then, she returned. It wasn't through a post, not through a blog. It was a voice. In a quiet episode uploaded to Spotify, under a name no one had heard before, Rebecca spoke. "Welcome to Left Behind, healing after being replaced." The voice was unmistakably hers, gentle, a little tired, but calm. The podcast began as a personal journal, raw entries about grief, trust, abandonment. She never named Daniel, never blamed Claire. She talked about forgetting how to sleep, how silence could be louder than any scream, how betrayal, she said, wasn't about one act, but the echo it leaves behind. Something about her words resonated. Within 2 months, the podcast charted in the top 10 under mental health relationships. Thousands of women wrote in. "You told my story. I thought I was crazy until I heard you. Thank you for saying the things I couldn't say out loud." Rebecca never showed her face, but her voice became a lighthouse. In the final episode of her first season, she read a letter. She didn't say who it was for, but everyone knew. "You didn't break me. You broke the illusion, and I thank you for that. I see now. I wasn't grieving you. I was grieving the version of myself who thought she was unlovable without you. There's a peace that comes, not from forgetting, but from finally remembering who I was before you." It wasn't forgiveness. Not exactly, but it was something close. She started hiking, shared photos with no captions, mountains, rivers, sunsets, her smile finally soft, unforced. Rebecca never returned to the town where it all happened. She never went back to the house, but she didn't have to. Because she found something far greater than revenge. She found the part of herself that had survived. She showed up to ruin his day, but ended up rebuilding her life. Was Rebecca justified in crashing that wedding? Was this revenge, or was it closure? She didn't shout. She didn't throw a glass. She stood there quietly and told the truth. But was that her moment of healing, or just the beginning of something else? We want to hear from you. Text on screen, bold, dramatic. Do you think she went too far? Comment below. Was this justice or obsession? If you've ever loved someone who left you behind, if you've ever watched them start a new chapter without you, you know how hard it is to stay silent. But Rebecca didn't stay silent. She spoke. And maybe, in doing so, she helped others find their voice too. Subscribe for more real-life stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption. And if you thought this was wild, wait until you hear about the bride who vanished right before saying, "I do." One dress, one note, no trace. That story is next.